From Montana's news leader, this is MTN News at 6.
Good evening. Welcome to the News at 6. I'm Marian Davidson. Thanks for joining us. We go to a live look at the Capitol grounds in Washington, D.C. and new developments in just the past half hour. The social media platform Twitter has locked President Donald Trump's account for the next 12 hours and removed 3 posts from earlier today. The company cited the ongoing situation in Washington, D.C. that included pro-Trump supporters forcing their way into the Capitol, leaving 1 protester dead. It is now 8 p.m. in the nation's capital, and this situation continues to develop. Our coverage starts in D.C. with our Joe St. George.
A curfew has descended upon the streets in our nation's capital following a day that anyone in American politics, really anyone in this country, will never forget. Scenes out of a movie, it seemed like, certainly out of another part of the world, on display in our nation's capital. An individual who came here to protest this election, shot and killed this afternoon by members of the Capitol Police and security that has descended upon our nation's capital. Where we're broadcasting, there is some relative calm after this curfew, and word has circulated that Speaker Nancy Pelosi wants to get the Electoral College vote certified. Here's the context and importance of that. There is no better statement of democracy to send to the rest of the world, to send to people around this country, than to certify the Electoral College results after what we saw inside and outside the United States Capitol. And that's the attitude of lawmakers this evening. They want these results certified. They want to send a message that what happened today should never happen again. In Washington, I'm Joe St. George.
Senator Steve Daines, one of 11 senators prepared to object to the Electoral College results today, was ushered out of chambers to safety. And in the last half hour, Daines issued a statement calling today a sad day for democracy and saying he will now vote to certify the election. He said, quote, "As Americans, we believe in the right to peaceful protest. We must rise above the violence. We must stand together. We will not let today's violence deter Congress from certifying the election," end quote. And in a tweet, Democratic Senator Jon Tester said, quote, "I join my Republican and Democratic colleagues in condemning this despicable and dangerous attack on our democracy." He also said that time for objections to the election is over as well. We have more from Senator Tester on today's event online at KTVH.com. And the newest member of Montana's congressional delegation, Republican Representative Matt Rosendale, also took to social media to say he and his staff are safe. He said, quote, "I condemn political violence of any kind. There is a peaceful process to resolve this, which is what we were attempting to do." Representative Rosendale also thanked Capitol Police for ensuring his and his team's safety. In Montana, protesters peacefully gathered outside the Capitol today to show their support for President Donald Trump, singing and chanting and passing drivers honking in solidarity. Now, even though officials, including some inside the Trump administration, have disputed claims of widespread voter fraud, demonstrators told us they felt like their voices had not been heard and that they believe that the results of the presidential election were not legitimate.
This is how Trump supporters are. We don't go through and break buildings. We don't go burning buildings down. We don't go and hurt people, hurt their property. We're not like that. That's not how Trump wanted us to be.
We are not going to go trash storefronts or hurt Americans.
State numbers regarding COVID-19 in Montana. Because of that, our numbers may differ from the state. In Lewis and Clark County, there are continuing vaccinations of healthcare workers today. Cars were lined up as early as 6 a.m. MTN's John Riley spoke with volunteers who have been out in cold weather to make sure everything runs smoothly.
Long before the first rays of light reached the Helena Valley Wednesday morning, more than a dozen volunteers were already hard at work to ensure the COVID-19 vaccination clinic for healthcare workers at the fairgrounds ran smoothly. Volunteers included Capitol High sophomore and Troop 214 Boy Scout Zach Heller, who was directing traffic for a couple hours before he had to go to class. Heller said he's happy just to be of service.
Oh, it just feels good personally to know that I'm helping. Like, even a 16-year-old in the middle of nowhere, Helena, Montana, is still like playing a part in the whole scheme of things.
Traffic control may not seem like the most important job, but it plays a big role in reducing the time people have to wait in line to get vaccinated and help resolve any initial issues.
It's not an overstatement to say I couldn't do it without them. I don't want to pull law enforcement off the streets to come do this kind of work because we need them out there on the streets. So having volunteers that are willing to get up early, come down here in the cold, help us manage traffic and keep things running smoothly, it's absolutely crucial to this operation.
Inside the fairgrounds exhibit hall, nurses and pharmacists were delivering vaccine doses like a well-oiled machine. Volunteers helped provide drinks and snacks to keep people fueled for the work and said they were glad to see the community come together.
It's really quite amazing that the community is pulling this off. You know, I think peer review and the hospital and all these different organizations that are pulling this off, it's pretty impressive.
In the coming months, more volunteers will be needed as vaccination efforts increase in the county. Standing out in freezing cold weather directing traffic isn't all that glamorous, although you do get to see the sunrise, an occasional thank you, and the knowledge that you're helping your community end the pandemic. Reporting in Helena, John Riley, MTN News.
Well, new details tonight on the state's priorities for Phase 1B of the COVID-19 vaccine rollout, including the list of high-risk medical conditions that would qualify individuals ages 16 to 79. According to a Department of Public Health and Human Services Health Alert Network email sent out this morning, the email list contains 9 conditions, including, among others, cancer, Down syndrome, sickle cell disease, severe obesity, and diabetes. Phase 1 also includes American Indians and other people of color who may be at elevated risk of COVID-19 complications, as well as all persons over the age of 70. Now, most areas across Montana are still vaccinating healthcare workers and those in assisted living and long-term care facilities as part of Phase 1A. As of January 5th, 2021, Montana has received approximately 36,000 initial doses of the vaccine, and close to 2/3 of those, 63%, have been administered. And still ahead on the news at 6, how one swim team is using technology to keep practicing while keeping safe during the pandemic.
Of the swim team implemented waterproof headphone technology to continue practices.
It's been excellent. I've had to learn not to scream and yell like you usually do as a coach, but it's been really great, not just for the social distancing, but training. I'm able to correct them in the moment of them swimming.
The swimmers say the technology is helpful in providing real-time feedback.
And instead of getting tips at the end of when we're swimming, we get tips while we're swimming, so we can fix the tips instead of doing it again and then wasting time.
To hear your coach underwater, it's just a whole new part of swimming that can help everybody.
But the team still face challenges. Not everybody can participate at the same time. Swimming lanes are limited to just 3 swimmers each practice. However, for Coach Alana, she is grateful technology can keep the team afloat.
Technology has been kind of the huge factor in making sure this is working out, making sure they can hear me, and they're training as efficient as we can right now.
For 2021, this swim team is hoping to get involved in more swim competitions that the pandemic canceled the previous year. In Helena, I'm Alexi Guayo, MTN News.
Well, another standout student athlete from Helena is making the jump to college athletics, though Robert Wagner's jump is a little farther than most. Wagner, an all-state cross-country runner and swimmer for the Helena Lions, committed to swim at St. Francis College in Brooklyn, New York yesterday. Now, though the transition will take him to the East Coast, Wagner said both he and his new coaches are excited for next year.
St. Francis welcomed me with open arms. They were very energetic and excited to have me, and right away they hashed out what their college was like, exact details, and were very enthusiastic to give me an offer.
All right, Curtis, I heard you had some good news for us, maybe some snow?
Yeah, a little snow if you want it. That's good news. If not, it's news nonetheless. Cold enough for a little snow tomorrow, but a warm-up is on the way for this weekend and early next week. It's after next week that I think we'll start to see some colder stuff headed towards the state. This is, again, a week from today. I'll have more of the full forecast coming up next. Central part of the state. Helena, some snow. Great Falls, some snow. Maybe a few raindrops mixed in, but mainly going to be a snow event here. And north central, northeast Montana, again, where you see a little green or pink, there may be a little mix. Nonetheless, some light snow coming through a lot of the state here through the afternoon into the evening hours. Some of that snow will begin to work its way on off towards the east. High temperatures tomorrow will be up above the freezing point for most of the lower elevations, so that will limit the accumulation here. Still a little snow into eastern Montana. If anybody's traveling south of Glasgow, there over to Glendive into Friday morning. And then we'll see the clouds breaking up for the rest of the state here by Friday. But there you can see that snowfall where you see that this color shade of gray right here. It's about an inch, maybe 2 inches. White, about 3 inches, maybe a little more here. So a little light snow coming through over the next 24 to 36 hours here. There you can see the numbers, as much as about 2 inches into some of the higher elevations around some of the cities. Tonight, 20s and 30s, it's probably about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning that some of these locations will start to see some wet snow develop. Dry northeast Montana here tonight, temperatures down into the 20s. Again, it's before daybreak into the central and western part of the state where we'll start to see some of that snow spilling through. So the forecast for tomorrow, Thursday, low pressure working through the state. There are the highs above the freezing point for the lower elevations, 20s for the mountains here. So roads will be a little slick. If you're heading up over the mountain passes, expect some accumulation on the road surfaces. For Friday, still a little snow early, and if you're looking on the left-hand side of the screen saying, oh, here comes another round of snow. Well, that snow just kind of peters out here as we get into Friday night and Saturday. So really after tomorrow's snow, not expecting much in the way of snow until maybe late next week. And there you can see on Saturday, looking at partly cloudy skies. Sunday, also partly cloudy and a little wind back on the Rocky Mountain front in north central Montana. Here are the next 7 days, and a little light snow around Helena tomorrow. Again, up to an inch or two into the higher terrain around town, maybe 3 inches, especially up on the Continental Divide. Sunny this weekend, or at least partly cloudy. And then next week, look at the warmth up into the 40s and 50s, maybe a few rain showers on Wednesday. And for Great Falls, some light snow tomorrow, maybe mixed with a few raindrops early on. And then this weekend, that snow will be melting.
All right, thanks for that, Curtis. Coming up, we continue our coverage on this historic day in Washington, D.C.
He did, through the streets of Washington toward the Capitol, and then stormed the Capitol of the United States of America.
The Insurrection Act is now! You have the power, sir, and we support you 110%! Hell yeah!
Police guarding the doorways drew their guns as a tense standoff began. Soon, protesters breached security and eventually reached the floor of the U.S. Senate. An FBI SWAT team dressed in camouflage and heavily armed marched through the halls. The nation's capital was finally cleared, a police line established. Authorities have now secured the nation's capital. A curfew is in place, but many Trump supporters remained on the streets. Dan Scheneman, NBC News.
All right, and we'll wrap things up here on the News at 6 when we come back.
Founded allegations that voting machines in Arizona and elsewhere somehow changed vote tallies or somehow improperly rejected ballots while claiming to accept them. These allegations all ignore
From Montana's news leader, you're watching MTN News at 6.
Welcome back to the News at 6. We're going to take you back to Washington, D.C. live, where Congress is officially back in session. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer just wrapped up addressing today's events in the Capitol complex. Congressional leadership also announced they are continuing the process to certify the Electoral College results. You can look at what's going on right now. This happens earlier today. There were protesters that stormed this area. It was locked down, and all of our representatives, senators, were locked down waiting for help as protesters stormed this area of the Capitol. There was a curfew in D.C. tonight at 6, and police did secure the building. We'll be back here tonight at 10 with the latest news, both local and national, and of course, another look at that weather. We'll see you tonight at 10. Thanks for watching.